survival. Not everybody has the same number of children. Some people have lots of children, some people have none. If there is genetic variation in the desire to have children, then that could be that would by definition be natural selection in favor of something. Well, I don't know whether there is, but as I said before, there's genetic variation in most other things, so it would be a little bit surprising if there wasn't a genetic influence, a statistical genetic influence on the inclination to have children. Or it could be a statistical effect on incompetence in using contraceptives.
The Catholics are going to come after you for that one, because it's not incompetence, you're just not allowed to do that.
Actually, let me tell you a story about this. Well, it's kind of about that. I was doing a television program, and I was sent out to to Kenya, to Nairobi, to the slums of Nairobi, to interview a prostitute, because there is evidence in Kenya of a genetic resistance to AIDS. And there are some prostitutes in Nairobi who are massively exposed to HIV, but who don't get AIDS. And this woman was one such. And she's being researched by actually a Canadian team of geneticists. So I was sent to interview her, and I said, how long have you been a prostitute? And she told me 20 years or 25 years, something like that. And I said, what's happened to all your friends who joined at who did it start at the same time? They're all dead, she said, of AIDS. So I said, well, why do you think you're not dead? She said, well, God must be looking after me. So then I said, well then, why didn't God look after all your friends? And she said, well, I can't understand that, but I tell you this, she said, God loves condoms.
I want to go to Kenya and interview prostitutes too, but for completely different reasons. So one of the things that was curious to me is we come from very different backgrounds and fell into what we do for somewhat different reasons. I mean, you're one of the world's most eminent and popular scientists, and you have a passion for science education. And I'm just some redneck who was raised a Southern Baptist and figured out this shit makes no sense. And I've spent the time on the show doing what I can to try to have the conversations. You've done something that I haven't done and may never do, and that is you have an entire foundation dedicated to science and reason. And I want to make sure that there's an opportunity to talk about that. What has the foundation been doing, and the goals, so that people who were aware become aware.
Yes, after The God Delusion was published, I founded the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, both in Britain and America. I suppose mainly at first as a way in which I could give money in a charitable way, both in Britain and in America. It's difficult for a British taxpayer to give money to American charities. You can do it, but it's kind of hard, and you don't get the tax benefits. So I founded these two foundations. The British Foundation was mainly used as a kind of conduit to get money into America, where I thought it was more needed.
It's also, part of this is because, for whatever reasons, most of my fellow Americans, if I say something, they can blow it off. But if it has your accent, they pay attention to it a little bit more.
I was afraid it might be the other way around, actually. I once was unwise enough to reply to the Guardian request to give advice about two elections ago, American elections ago, and I gave advice about how nobody should vote for George W. Bush, and I got the most incredible lot of hate mail. You limey stay out of our affairs, to which my reply was the American election affects the entire world, and I kind of resent the fact that we can't vote in it.
So do I.
I got off
When I came through customs, the customs agent said, "Oh, you're going to be giving a talk tomorrow night." I said, "Yes." And I flew in Saturday, and she said, "So you're only here for Sunday, and then you fly home on Monday?" And I was like, "Yes." And this seemed to baffle her a little bit, so she wanted to repeat it. "So you're here for just one day to give a talk?" And I said, "Yes, but depending on the election results on Tuesday, I might be back the following weekend."